Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to show you another continuous crochet garland pattern. This one is snowflakes. These snowflakes are absolutely adorable. I have a couple other continuous crochet patterns on my channel and I will link those down below, so check those out. I think there's a heart one, there's a flower and leaf one, I think I have a shamrock one, and they're super fun, and the best part about them is that you make the garland in one go. There's no separately attaching all of these motifs. We're going to build the motifs directly into this chain as we're working, and there is no weaving in ends. So all these motifs that you traditionally make for a garland like this, you would normally have to weave all of those ends in on each motif. Well, this is totally different. This is a no sew, no weave in project. We start at the end and create our little loop. We chain whatever length that you want to start. Then we work our first snowflake motif. We attach it back onto that main chain. Chain another so many in between motifs, and then work another, and we do this all the way down until you have the number of motifs you want, the size of your garland. This project is so customizable. You can really use any yarn that you want. I recommend a 4-weight acrylic yarn, and you can use almost any crochet hook that matches the yarn that you're using. Now, for this project, because these motifs are a little bit bigger, if you use a really large crochet hook, it might not come out quite right. So for this project, I do recommend a crochet hook between like a 3.5 and a 5.5 millimeter. For these, I used a 5 millimeter crochet hook, and I used some Merry Maxim Glimmer. This one is a blue, and for the tutorial I'll be using this sort of light purple. And I love this yarn for this project because it has the little glimmer running through it, and especially for snowflakes, it really makes it look nice on this garland. You want to start with a slip knot on your hook. And you don't need a long tail. We're just going to tie these in at the end. Like I said, this is a no weave-in project. So the only two ends that you have are at the start of the garland chain and at the end. If you want to add that little loop on the end, chain 15 and slip stitch right back into that first chain, and that will create a loop. If you want a larger loop, you can certainly chain more. If you want a smaller loop, chain a little bit less. You just want to chain a number and then slip stitch back into that first chain, and then you've got your loop. Now we're going to chain the distance from this loop to our first snowflake motif. So for me, that's between 20 and 25 chains. Once you have your chain between that loop and where you want your first motif to be, you're going to work back into the third chain on that main garland chain. I'm just going to put a slip stitch into it, and this will form the smallest of rings. We're going to chain 2. And now you want to take that ring that you just created and flip it. So it was like this. We're going to flip it as if we're working on the back side, and you want to put 11 half double crochets right in the center of that ring. Now it can be a little bit tricky to find, but just kind of pop your hook in and hope for the best. That's what I say on these small rings. when you get close to that chain from your garland, you want to make sure it's in the back. So you can just put it in the back and continue in that center your half double crochets. When you have 11, that chain 2 counts as a stitch. You're just going to find the top of that chain 2 and slip stitch. And now you've got the center of your snowflake. For round 2, we're going to chain 3, and you're going to find that first space in between your half double crochets. So for this round, we're working in between those half double crochets, not in the actual stitches. So I've got my chain 3, I'm going to find that first space and single crochet into it. Find the next space and single crochet into that. Chain 3, find the next space and single crochet into that, and a single crochet into the next space. And because we didn't chain 1 in between our half double crochets, those are going to be tight, but it's okay. What your main goal is to have 6 of the chain 3 spaces all the way around, and you put a single crochet into the 2 spaces in between those chain 3s. I'm back around. I'm just going to pop a slip stitch to join, and we have round 2 of our snowflake. For round 3, and this is the final round, we're going to put into each chain 3 space the following: 2 single crochets right into that space, and now we're going to work a picot, chain 2. For this pattern, a picot is a chain 2 and a single crochet into the base. So you can see those 2 little bars right there. That's where I work my picots and just do a single crochet. We're still working into that same chain space. Work a double crochet, chain 2, again find those 2 bars for a picot and single crochet, work a double crochet, another picot, so chain 2, and find those bars at the base of the chain 2 and single crochet. Still working into that same chain space, we want to finish with 2 single crochets. And that gives us a little bit of a snowflake look. And you want to work that into each chain 3 space all the way around, and then I will show you how to finish the motif. Once you've worked your last snowflake into the last chain 3 space, all you want to do is just slip stitch to one of those next stitches on the motif to join. You can see that we've created a nice snowflake shape, and our chain is still on the back. You're going to now kind of flip your work, grab that chain, bring it up, and I like to go into the 3rd, 1, 2, 3, or 4th, but usually the 3rd chain from that bottom. Let's see if I can show you where it's coming out of the center. So count 3 up from there and just slip stitch, and that kind of brings that snowflake back up and brings your garland back up to a working height. So you can continue to chain, and you want to chain as many as you want in between your motifs. I usually go with between 20 and 25, but if you want these more spread out, then you can chain as many as you want to get that distance in between the motifs. To finish the project, you're going to want to chain the same number of chains that you did between the first loop and your first motif to start. Once you have that amount, you can go ahead and chain 15 to create that loop, or as many as you chained for that loop, and then slip stitch back into that 15th chain away from your hook to create another loop. So I'll just kind of, chain a bunch here, and all you want to do is then just go back into the 15th chain, so I'm just guessing at this point, and just slip stitch, and you'll create a loop on that side. To finish, let's go back to the first one I did. Because this is a no-sew, all I like to do is just tie a little knot. Just tie a knot a few times on these ends. However you like to tie knots, you're just kind of securing it so that doesn't unravel. This being a garland, it's only going to be hanging, so there's not going to be a lot of wear and tear to this part. You just want to make sure that that's secure, and then you can go ahead and cut closely on here, and you do the same thing on the other end. And then once you've got all of your snowflake motifs completed, your ends tied and cut, you'll have a fantastic snowflake garland. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. These are some of my favorite patterns to create because I love quick and easy and simple and no ends to weave in, and this is one of those projects. Again, I have a few other types of continuous crochet garland patterns out there. I will link those down below in the description box, and I should have this pattern up and available on Etsy along with the continuous heart garland. I know that one is already up, but I should have this one up very shortly as well. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.